Today we'll be taking another look at the Tier 8 Russian cruiser, the Petropavlovsk, in a rather short game that demonstrates some of the stupid things that this ship can do. Now, of course, on World of Warships PC, the Petropavlovsk is fairly infamous. It's regarded to be an overpowered Tier 10 cruiser, but in World of Warships Legends, it has been down-tiered and nerfed in comparison to its PC counterpart, and as such, it is not capable of achieving quite the same levels of stupidity. And the reason for that is because the nerf primarily attacked Petropavlovsk's ability to sustain itself, let's say. On World of Warships, this thing has about 55,000 HP, and here in Legends, it's been nerfed to 45,000, which really is not a lot for a Tier 8 cruiser, and as such, it just doesn't have all that much sustain, which you'll see here. Nevertheless, it's still the same heavily armored monstrosity that it is on PC, and the guns are still just as potent. They even reload almost as fast. So we're going to see those guns and the armor in action in sort of a brawling situation that really only the Petropavlovsk can do. There are few other ships, few other cruisers anyway, that could sustain themselves in a brawl against a Pommern, a Yamato, and a Worcester. And you can see in this game that there aren't a lot of capital ships to fight. In fact, there are 8 destroyers spread across either team, 4 on each side, and as such, these games tend to be disasters. When you have a game with a high count of destroyers, then you can know that one team is probably going to lose their destroyers almost instantly, or their other capital ships. In fact, one enemy cruiser has so far gone down, and coincidentally, it happens to be a Petropavlovsk. It was taken out by a friendly Shima, and we ourselves just avoided death at the hands of an enemy Shima. He launched a smokescreen there, launched torpedoes around the gap, and we didn't want to sail forward and eat all of those. Good thing we didn't. We're now sitting inside of the cap, and we know behind the island there is a Pommern, there's also a Yamato, and there is a Worcester, although actually, the Yamato is sort of psychic intuition on my part. I don't think we've actually seen that ship yet. That is a joke, of course. I did play this game, although it was quite some time ago. In any case, now that the Shimakaze is inside of his smokescreen and we've already used our radar, we don't want to necessarily stay right in this cap. We don't have a lot of support with us. There is a battleship and another cruiser behind us, but with that Shima there, I'm a little nervous that he might try to YOLO me, so I'm trying to gain distance. We're allowing the enemy team to take the cap. Our team is inside of Bravo with a battleship pushing in toward a destroyer and a cruiser. I don't think that's going to be great for that particular battleship's health, and as far as I can tell, the Alpha cap is open for business. Our team just isn't doing anything about it, although they are chasing one enemy destroyer on the far flank of the map. 2 destroyers are in fact chasing it, so we're probably going to win that engagement. In any case, the Pommern and the Worcester both show themselves, and it's a good thing we're in a kiting position and starting to run away, because the real weakness of the Petropavlovsk here is high explosive spam. It is heavily armored, and that armor can protect it from the armor-piercing shells of even the largest caliber battleships in the game, like the Yamato. But if it's going to take sustained high explosive spam from a Worcester and the secondaries of a Pommern, it's gonna melt, and it's not gonna last that long, especially if the Pommern can hit it with its AP for chunky damage. And so you can see we've been reduced to half health, so we need to reevaluate. We're going to have to put out the fires here once our damage control is off of cooldown, and luckily for us, our Yamato and our other cruiser are charging in to take some of the heat. So as soon as this fire goes out, we're going to start turning around and head back to the cap. We know that the 2 capital ships, 3 because there's a Yamato on the way, you can see his last known location on the minimap, heading toward Charlie behind that island. We know that they're behind the island, and we can use that island to block their line of sight and also as, free indestructible armor. And with our ships going over there toward the right of the screen, maybe we'll even be able to get a crossfire going if we push straight into that island and the enemy team decides to go around it on the right-hand side. If that happens, they're most likely going to be pointing their bows against the Yamato that's over there to the right of the screen, which means, if we're inside of the cap, by that island, they come around the corner, they got their bow pointing at the Yamato. That means they've got their broadside pointing at us. So we'll have set up a crossfire, and right on cue, here comes the pristine, full health enemy Yamato around the corner. We get spotted briefly by the Shimakaze, who has managed to take the flank over there, and so we reveal him with our radar. He's in a terrible position for our friendly Yamato, who is bow tank reversing in front of him, making himself a very attractive target for incoming torpedoes. Although, the Petropavlovsk, while it does have an excellent radar with a long duration and the capability of stealth radar, it doesn't have DPM like, for example, the Des Moines. So sometimes taking out destroyers can be a little bit difficult. But, well, there, the Shimakaze gets practically all of his torpedoes into the bow-tanking reversing Yamato, so that guy's probably dead. On the bright side, however, this enemy Yamato is about to get a little bit overconfident. If he'd stayed behind that island, he wouldn't have taken those two citadels. But there you can see the power of the Petropavlovsk's guns. This Yamato clearly has underestimated Soviet balance. And so he takes another 5 citadels. And, well, remember, he came around that corner on nearly full health. He's not that healthy anymore. To be fair, we're not angled enough, and he gets a great hit into us. But we're able to take him out with a total of, 10 citadels? And, well, our damage wasn't over 100,000 before that engagement started. And now here's the Pommern, who probably can take us out, but there's our armor angled properly this time, saving us from catastrophic damage, and we only take chip damage from his AP. He's nearly dead as well, so we should be able to take him out here, and it's just a shame that we didn't get all of the guns on target, and another shame that the dead carcass of the Yamato blocked the rear turret of Justice from exacting its justice. But front turrets take out the Pommern. We're up to nearly 140,000 damage, and the Wooster's about to come around the corner while we're on 42 HP. So we're obviously going to perish here, but hopefully we can get some damage on the Wooster, maybe even dev strike him. And the answer to that is no dev strikes, but 2 more citadels for a total of 12 and 152,000 damage done. The vast majority in the final minutes of this game against the Yamato and the Pommern. Just goes to show you the destructive firepower of the Petropavlovsk's guns, which, like its counterpart on PC, have a stupid amount of penetration and punch to them. They're still the same guns from that game, as far as I can tell. And if you can get them into a position where you've got the broadside of battleships like Yamato and Pommern, especially at close range, you are absolutely going to obliterate those broadsides. So, yeah, anytime you can take it into a scenario like that, Petropavlovsk is really, really going to shine, and it's quite fun to play. But at the same time, I don't think it is quite as overpowered as it is on PC. It just doesn't have a lot of hit points. If we had started, with 55,000 hit points like it's got on PC, good chance that we would have survived, and we'd still be alive now. In fact, we probably would have taken out the Wooster, because you remember near the end there, when the Yamato hit us in our not-so-well-angled side, he took away about 10k. Imagine that we had started with 10k more than that. We would still have, about 10,000 health even after taking that salvo, and we would have been able to obliterate the Wooster as well. So it's probably a good thing this ship doesn't have as much sustaining power as it does on PC, because these guns are a little bit nutty. Hope you enjoyed this game. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.